Looks like we're live.
We are live. This is your host for the most, Marcos, here in Sunnyside, Dubai. This is the XCcast, the official podcast of XC.com, and I got a special friend somewhere in the ether. His name is David Morris. He is, I believe, the founder or co-founder of Raptoreum?
Co-founder.
Co-founder? Awesome. All right, cool. Co-founder of Raptoreum. So, yeah, just wanted to have a conversation about privacy and why it matters. And yeah, definitely would love to learn about his origin story into crypto. David, welcome to the XTcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Marcos.
Yeah. But anyways, David, I heard about Raptoreum quite some time ago through Lutz, one of his shows. I've been in the privacy space for quite some time, learning about Monero, Parachain, you guys. So just it's interesting to see a lot of interesting conversations of zero knowledge proof, homomorphic encryption, and just the general landscape of the cryptocurrency marketplace. So before we get into all that stuff, I would love to learn about who is David. And what's his origin story into? I know it's a loaded question, but
no, that's fine. Who am I? That is a bit of a long story. I'm half Danish, half British. Studied mathematics, applied mathematics, and then later I did some Cambridge courses for teaching. I taught English in China for 12 years and trained government school and private school teachers here in Malaysia for about 10 years as well.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't been back to Europe since 2003.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but there's nothing there for me. There is family, but it's still active enough to come out and visit. No pressing reasons to go there, etc. Yeah, crypto I got into. Not even really sure where it all started. I mean, in the very early 2000s, I was heavily involved with P2P file sharing, P2P tech, and a lot of the people in the crypto space, they evolved into it from that. A lot of information out there should really be free and unrestricted and not necessarily at the behest of someone like Bezos and I mean, that gradually evolved into how can we do this better? How can we protect the end users better? And then got involved on the fringe of the whole cypherpunk thing. I don't even think you'd really call it a thing back then. It was just a bunch of guys talking on some BBSs and forums to start with. And then from there, gradually rolled into it. I bought eGold.
Oh, really? Okay, I heard about it.
Very early predecessors almost to the whole crypto concept, tokenized gold, which was, I made quite good money on that. Doing so from China, got more interested, started using. I've always been reasonably techy. Started working with unlocking phones. So when crypto mining rolled around, I already had a few rigs set up for unlocking phones and got a bit of a jump start from that on the mining side of things. And then it evolved from there into a Taobao shop, into being involved with BTC China in their very early infancy. They were, back in 2017, 2016, 2017, they were essentially the top exchange by volume globally.
Oh, wow.
They shut down operations, though, in late autumn in 2017 because of Chinese government regulations and not really wanting to have to comply. So they chose, instead of outsourcing to some dubious legal location, they chose to turn the key. Some of the people from the project are still involved in the space and work in it. The de facto owner still owns a couple of the larger Chinese exchanges, but through intermediaries now.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is, but it's the business side of things. I've always been a bit more where the business and the tech meet each other kind of person. In 2011, I started with another group of friends from Dalian, mainly in northern China. We started working cross-current sea arbitrage on BTC. It was relatively easy for me to fly out and open bank accounts with a British passport. So we were trading BTC against both the Chinese yuan, the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, all the markets on Mount, Japanese yen,
okay,
US dollar as well. And we were printing money hand over fist. We started with very little. At the time, I was a pretty broke teacher with a couple of kids on the way, one born and another one on the way. So from there, it moved into, but it made an awful lot of money. And when the collapse of Mt. Gox rolled around, I was actively out and shopping for a beach house in Langkawi.
Okay, and where's that place exactly?
That's a small island on the border between Malaysia and Thailand.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'd taken a contract training teachers down here, and I thought, hey, I'm going to retire.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But overnight, it went from I'm going to retire in a couple of months to shit, I need a new teaching contract.
Man, that situation of Mt. Gox really screwed things up, huh? Wow.
We had Mt. Gox whitelisted. We'd been 4 times to Japan. The whole team, we'd met with Mark. We had BTC China whitelisted. We only had those 2 exchanges whitelisted. Everything else had a very, very specific hard cap, hard limit on it. So there was no chance of, if, for example, Mercado BTC, which is one of the other oldest exchanges out there in Brazil, if they'd collapsed, it would have cost us $10,000, $15,000 at most. But It was during the night, and someone started to spike the price on Mt. Gox to withdraw BTC because they were having problems with fiat withdrawal not being transferred out, and it happened during the night, Chinese time. We were asleep, all of us, so no one was around to pull the plug on the bot. And I mean, at the time, I don't even think really that any of us could have imagined on the team how bad things really were in Japan. So I think even if we had been awake, the result would have been the same.
Oh, wow, okay.
The bot went ahead and transferred everything because suddenly there was a 10% price difference even against a market that normally had a 15% premium, which was what we were working with, collecting fairly stable profits from. The Brazilian market was at the time, because of the problems with transferring capital out of Brazil, commanding a 15% premium on Bitcoin, sometimes more.
I'm blown away. I don't know if there was like a Bitcoin exchange in Brazil, Mercado. This is the first time I'm hearing it.
Mercado BTC, they're one of the oldest ones out there. I think they're actually older than Coinbase.
Right. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. I'm familiar with Huobi and Hit BTC, but these ones are quite interesting. I mean, this is like way early.
Mercado BTC is still there. They are probably one of the easiest markets to onboard and offboard fiat in, even easier than Dubai.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait, that's crazy.
No, but it's the same with, for example, BitCub in Thailand. BitCub in Thailand, if you're a Thai citizen, it's 2 minutes to transfer money in and 2 minutes to transfer money out. And that's... The process is really faster than that. It's just waiting for the numbers to update on the web page.
Wow. Okay. This is some new stuff. Wow, man.
But there are quite a few exchanges now where this is possible. And Europe and the US in particular are lagging very badly behind and are basically strangling what should be growing, developing business with overly cumbersome regulation.
No, that's interesting. No, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, what is happening? What are you seeing in the United States, West? Just too many regulations, just slowing things down.
Somewhere like, for example, Indonesia.
Okay.
What's that? I can't remember what the population is, but the population is huge.
Are you talking about what, like 300 million, maybe more?
I think it's a bit more now.
Maybe 500 million?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And Indodax, funding on, funding off, inside 5 minutes as well.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think that kind of makes sense now. Just the amount of growth and what we are seeing at XC.com, like the crypto usage in Indonesia, Southeast Asia is just high.
Yeah, but it certainly is. I spoke to, what's his name, David Weber. When was that? I believe in March last year. Weber Wu from XT. I think he's your...
Right. Oh, hey. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's great. Okay. Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm not thinking, we're talking about them. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I'm a little slow.
No,
I need coffee.
no. I have to go for a refill in a minute, I think. But I mean, yeah, definitely it's something I know that you guys are working very hard on getting integrated as well in several places.
Yeah.
And that's what's needed for the space to move forward. The space doesn't need GameFi or dodgy Web3, reasonable financial products on Web3 written in a language that's not fully developed yet.
So when you say like language, you're talking about like computer language. Are you talking about
Solidity?
Like Solidity? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it specifically Solidity, or are there any issues with, say, Rust?
Rust is a lot more mature in terms of development as a language.
Okay.
Because it's also got quite a few real use cases outside of the crypto space. It has potentially a much larger developer pool already than what Solidity has. Solidity has maybe a few thousand people globally who know what they're doing. It's got, and that's it. Out of them, you've got an even smaller handful who can write truly new, innovative functions and troubleshoot them properly. And you can see that it's evidenced daily in hacks, exploits, liquidity leakage on
all the bridge hacks,
decentralized exchanges, being able to drain from one market into the other on some of the early versions of Uniswap code and on. I'm not saying we shouldn't be innovating. I'm saying that you're insane if you put that large sums of money into something running on a product that's not out of beta yet.
Yeah.
I could understand more money going into some of the Rust products. But again, with the Rust products, you had what was the name of the wallet? It wasn't Solid. It wasn't Phantom. It was that other option for Solana. The one that was exploited and all of the users had their stuff drained.
I'm thinking of Phantom, but...
No, it wasn't Phantom. It wasn't Phantom. Phantom was reasonably secure. Solid was secure. It was the second third-party offering. I can't remember its name now.
Okay, yeah.
People had their NFTs and everything just disappearing out of this wallet. Any wallet ever logged into that platform, poof, bye-bye.
Yeah.
But that was a programming error, straight up programming error on not checking security properly.
Okay.
Not so much a protocol exploit. With Ethereum, you continually see protocol exploits, and that's where you have a real problem, because it's really damaging to the credibility of what's going on with the Ethereum, BSC, Matic. Their contracting language is terrible.
Yeah, but I think like not many people are aware of this problem, because many of my acquaintances, they assume that Ethereum is secure. High security.
And chain itself is incredibly secure.
Yeah.
But it's only the most basic of contracts or in Solidity that you can make any claims as to actually being reasonably secure, like a bog standard ERC20 contract or something like that has by now been tested to death and beyond.
All right, that's good to know.
But on the other hand, you've got new and upcoming projects like Cadena.
Oh, that?
You've got projects like Ergo. There are projects like, what's it called?
Oh, Neo?
Yeah, Neo as well, yeah, but they've had problems with getting their contract implementation to work properly. I think that's still not developed yet. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I checked.
Are you talking about Neo or are you talking about Near? Near.
Neo. Neo.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha. So Neo is, I think that's the Chinese-based blockchain, right? If I'm correct. Is it? Oh, maybe I could be
Can't
wrong.
remember where they're based, but they were supposed to do contracting in Python, which is a good thing because if they deliver on that, they will have the instant they deliver on that, they'll have a developer pool of times larger than the developer pool available for Ethereum.
Oh, easily. Okay, for sure, definitely.
And I mean, just the fact that you can access so much larger, so much more developed and mature developer pool. And also with some of the more common languages like Java and Python, you've got different scan options where you can basically do a type of testing where you feed all possible inputs through the program. And this gets analyzed in what you'd call a stack trace. I don't know if you're familiar with the term,
but
it's basically how the program executes.
Okay.
So you can find overflows, you can find all that kind of stuff before you go live with it.
Okay.
But with Solidity, you don't have that kind of tools fully developed or as maturely developed yet. It's a gamble every time you agree to use it.
I bet, yeah.
It's much more of a gamble, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But one of the big up-and-comings is going to be Kadena.
Really? Okay, why do you say that, though?
Because they have people who are building essentially much better tech. And once they're done, you won't really need to be a programmer to write a contract for it.
Oh, okay.
Which is, there's still some way off getting there.
Okay.
But I mean,
I guess they're trying to go with the low code or no code approach.
They're building a meta interface language.
Okay.
But which is human readable, human understandable, and pretty much fully documented. Some of the people working on that project are the head maintainers on Haskell, which is also what Cardano are going to use for contracting.
Okay.
But opposed to with the Cardano people, it's mainly user level usage of Haskell. Emily is the main maintainer for the repository, which is a big thing because it means you have someone with a much more intricate knowledge of the protocol, the programming language, and how you can use it to implement this whole meta language structure they're calling Pact. It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, yeah.
What we're aiming for on RTM is instead of using any of the existing VM solutions out there, we've got plans for protocol level assets, which means essentially something like ERC tokens, but without any coding being required, being able to issue them as a transaction in the wallet, and also automation of this kind of issuance. Automation of this kind of issuance meaning a lot of DeFi functionality can actually be defined from the parameters of how you set up a transaction. So staking, minting, vesting, all that kind of stuff will be manageable directly from the wallet. No code needed.
Wow, okay.
Which means we're working with BTC code base.
Oh, okay.
Dash mainly because they have an effective 51% attack protection system.
Okay.
In the same way as Pirate has 51% attack protection from the Komodo ecosystem.
Gotcha.
By notarizing itself onto the Komodo chain and then being a Komodo side chain. That means in order to actually attack Pirate, you would have to first attack Komodo and at the same time attack LTC.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
What you would need to attack us is basically 51% of the hash and control of enough nodes on the network to be able to have a reasonable chance of being selected, of all of your nodes being selected for the quorum that determines if a block is valid. And that means you would have to have bought up something like 50, 60% of the supply. Since the nodes are collateralized, and in that case, it's already your network, which is a different way of solving the same problem. So when we've got the security from the 51% attack protection, we've got assets at the protocol layer. We've just put out a release where we have time lockable transactions. We call them futures because you're obviously locking a transaction for some point in the future.
Okay.
They offer a lot of perspectives for use with both the whole GameFi space, but also more traditional financial style products if somebody wants to do that. Or our main use case for them is from the project side. There are a ton of other use cases that are not going to be driven by the project. Like, for example, use cases for financial services or things like that. We're not going to touch that. What we're developing them for is, once we have reasonably complete assets code out, are going to start selling blockchain as a service to smaller businesses.
Oh, nice. That's good. That's very good.
Which is a space and a sector that's been grossly underrepresented in
totally
the development.
neglected.
Instead of trying to get people to use blockchain for payments is a massive paradigm shift. And of course, we would like people to use us for payments, but it's not going to be our first approach to it. First approach is going to be, we'll offer tokenization as a service where, for example, a smaller business produces a batch of really any kind of product.
Okay.
They can, on our web form, on our platform, fill in a web form. On the web form, once it's done, pay somewhere between $3 and $10. And they get a nice QR code with an immutable asset on it, which they can label their products with. So they can get the story behind their products out there together with the products, which is something that's lacking in a lot of cases. Producer of chili sauce, for example, can show where the chili is grown, how it's brought into town, the processing it undergoes in the factory and how it's shipped out from there. This kind of product storytelling is a very underutilized market, as it basically enables someone with a very small business who can't afford ISO 9001 or HACCP certificate or similar. They can now go out and actually document to a higher standard than those certifications how they're producing their product. Something like ISO 9001, essentially, all it means is we have a quality system. We have a quality control system. It's not a documentation of you're producing to a certain standard. It's documentation of there is a quality control system in place. And that's it. That's all ISO 9001 means.
Yeah, I guess we're just like the perception in a sense, right?
Yeah, it's expensive. And for a smaller business, it's completely pointless for them to have this type of certification.
Yeah.
When they can document and say, this is how we do it. With HACCP, it's a little bit different because HACCP is, there are certain ways they need to handle their product, analyze their product as it goes through the process of processing. HACCP means hazard analysis and critical control procedures. Oops, you have disappeared.
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
No, I'm here. I can see you, so no worries.
Okay, cool. And I think getting into this market getting this market developed is going to present us with some very unique opportunities. So circling back to privacy, which is also part of this kind of market.
Agreed.
We are looking for, in the slightly longer term, to implement some form of zero knowledge proof.
Gotcha.
Now, zero not ZK snarks, probably more something in line with what Firo are working on and have
Lattice.
Yeah, Lelantis and the audit they've got in with HashCloak on it now. If that all works out all right, that's definitely something we will be looking at implementing for the longer run. Because if you combine privacy with NFTs as you see them now, that actually provides the option for a lot of documents to be published on-chain.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it also guarantees your privacy and the privacy of these documents. You only access it with a view key. The view key will show the document, and it will show that it was issued from, let's say, whatever governmental address issues this type of documents. So exam transcripts, certificates, anything really.
Yeah. No, I definitely can see that. Yeah. That's why I'm actually really. It's a good thing you brought that up because I don't know if Dr. Anish Mohammed, he's from Panther Protocol.
Not really familiar with him.
Okay. Yeah, he's been in the space for quite some time. So it's a ZKP layer for Ethereum. I think the premise is that.
Why would anybody publish a ZKP layer for a protocol that's been known to participate in censorship?
But also, so I guess it also applies on other layers too. But I guess the premise is about institutions into DeFi.
But the problem with doing something like this on Ethereum is if they decide all of a sudden that they don't like ZK transactions and ZK proof, what happens then? Because most of the validators are currently compliant with blocking transactions from Venezuela in Furo, which relays something like, I believe it's over 70% of Ethereum's transactions. They've got IP blocks on a whole list of countries.
Okay.
Why would a respectable developer, be willing to go down that kind of path of accepting censorship? That doesn't make any sense to me. None.
Yeah. I think it's not just Ethereum, but basically many other public blockchains. But I just threw Ethereum as example because I think Dr. Nishi was part of the Swarm team. He was the Ethereum orange paper reviewer. But I think he's also building it building on Elrond, Polygon, Flare Network, Avalanche, and just recently Near protocol as well.
Yeah.
But here's the premise is just for because most institutions, your traditional financial companies, they won't get into DeFi because it's a public blockchain. All the transactions are open. So in the traditional space, transactions, you have transactional privacy. It's actually protected by law, but in the DeFi space, the law cannot protect you. You need code to protect you.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, what guarantee does he have that infrastructure providers and validators on that chain are going to keep on accepting that kind of transactions? That kind of makes the whole point moot. I can understand developing for ETH rather than on ETH because
I guess maybe I'm way wrong.
You can transfer that to all of the EVM chains, but see, developing on it, it seems like you're okay with censorship and wanting to comply with whatever Uncle Sam wants, which is very much against the spirit of everything to do with crypto.
Yeah, but I think the focus is on financial transactions. I think all other stuff.
I mean, something like Hyperledger would be a significantly better protocol for them to be using, an interbank Hyperledger network or similar, and it can also handle a much higher transaction throughput.
I guess there's a lot of activity in Ethereum.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people don't want to answer questions about privacy and censorship.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
They prefer to ignore them, and if they do ignore them, that means,
But yeah.
As Snowden put it, Snowden said, saying that you're not concerned about privacy is like saying you're not concerned about free speech. Saying that you're not concerned about privacy because you've got nothing to hide is like saying that you are not concerned about free speech because you've got nothing to say. Yeah.
I understand that, yeah.
And I find it very hard to take people who are working on a censorship accepting platform seriously.
Gotcha.
That's no disrespect towards their academic achievements or anything, but it's inconsistent with continual growth and development. Deeply inconsistent. But yeah, to each their own.
Yeah, but I'll go back to in terms of using it as a blockchain as a service for small businesses.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the private
that's what we're mainly focused on. Initially, we're not focusing on the privacy aspect of it. We want to get people basically first used to even considering working with blockchain and using it. Once people have seen that they can use it, then we can start adding in privacy aspects. We can start adding in payment aspects, because until they see use and value from it, it's a pure investment and gamble on their side. If they can see some actual back and come back from it, from, let's say, labeling their product with QR codes that link to on-chain assets, or provide users of their business with loyalty tokens or similar, then you've got a basis for having the discussion about privacy and about payments and about all that, because they can already see that this is providing a value add. It's starting from basically the lowest common denominator and working upwards from there, instead of trying to evangelize, which is a bit of an unusual strategy, but I believe that for long-term growth, and we do believe on the project that for long-term growth, it makes a lot more sense than trying to get people to jump in at the deep end when they haven't basically been able to see any value from it in their business. If there's no impact of any kind, why should they spend time, money, and resources on exploring a market like this? If you look at how many of the 2017 ICOs that have just floundered because they didn't really know what to do with it after they raised the money, it's a terrific number of them that have just floundered and are stuck there. They've got a ton of money, but they don't know what to do with it in order to go ahead and implement their ideas from back then. So we feel it's better to start with basically the simplest possible and then build from there, because that way the whole decision cycle gets shortened. It's like being the candy bar right next to the payment counter in the supermarket rather than the candy bar that's hidden away over on the shelves. A lot of people are much more willing to buy the candy bar that's on display right in front of the payment counter.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's the psychology, right?
Yeah, and once we're done with Asset, we are working on integrating Apache Spark, if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not at all. No.
Apache Spark is distributed VM solution from Apache. Currently, Apache Spark is used mainly for statistical analysis, but it supports like crunching big data sets, that kind of thing. But there's nothing in the VM protocol itself that limits it to doing that type of work. You can rather easily adapt it to run contracts, distributed contracts. And with that, you can eventually work in all of the common programming languages. The basic package with Spark supports Java, Python, R, and Scala. We'll mainly be focusing on Java and Python, of course, because the developer pool for them is huge.
Huge, this is humongous.
Yeah, and we've got the architecture for it all. We're developing each of the features in turn on their own index. Once we've more or less gotten to feature completion, we're going to start decoupling these transaction types from the main chain. So we're not going to scale on our main slightly faster than Bitcoin chain. We will be scaling with asset transactions, we will be scaling with time lock transactions, and we will be scaling with contract transactions. Because what it does, a blockchain is essentially a very large spreadsheet. It's an eternally growing spreadsheet of data.
Yeah.
So when we put these transaction types on their own index, that's like giving them a couple of columns on their own. We can take out those columns and turn them into their own chain, somewhere in between what Komodo have done with side chains and what is it they're called? Polkadot doing with parachains. Yeah, somewhere slightly in between those two. Which means our asset transactions can run on the nodes. They can run at a much faster rate. They can have a node quorum attached. So every time a block completes on the asset chain, it's notarized onto the main chain, which already has its own 51% attack protection, which means it's a very solid, from an architectural point of view, system for implementing some scaling. It's not going to run as fast as Solana. It's not going to be as slow as Bitcoin, but it's going to be a lot more resilient. You've seen what happens to Uniswap when AWS on the East Coast or the big internet switch on the US East Coast goes down. There is no Uniswap, and a lot of Ethereum transactions run out of gas, and what have we. We're going to be a lot more resilient than that. Essentially, what we're aiming for is that if you have a Raspberry Pi and a satellite dish, then even if the bombs start falling, the RTM chain will still be slowly ticking around and coming down to Earth, which is something that these massively scaling projects are never going to be able to achieve because of bandwidth, cost, and the whole 9 yards associated with that. Solana validator now needs, how much hardware? Last I checked up on it, it cost around $900 a month to run one if you were renting from US. I believe it's more now. $900 a month just to participate in block production. That sounds not very decentralized to me. And on Ethereum, to run a full Ethereum node, it's obviously much with the amount of RAM, drive space, etc. required to run a full node. Yeah, we'll start packing on some data once we've got all of the chains running. There's no doubt about that. But some of that data won't need to go everywhere. So for the regular end user with a wallet, they will just need to be storing the main chain, and node operators will be storing the side chains, and they can be working through everything slowly with CPUs from around the world, wherever they may be.
Nice.
We are CPU proof of work. We've got an ASIC and FPGA resistant algorithm. The way we're resistant in is simplify it. Basically, the instruction set for our algorithm is very big, which makes it difficult to put onto something like an FPGA. There are some devices coming out now, FPGAs, that could potentially handle it, but with how the world is going, I think those are going to be going into missile control systems or radars instead of being sold for crypto mining.
Oh, interesting.
No, but they have, that kind of devices have been on many blockchain projects. They've been a problem because they've essentially come on, mined with a very high efficiency, and then left again, running up the difficulty, leaving original miners in a lurch, and they typically just immediately proceed to dump whatever they've mined because their hardware costs are considerably higher. ASIC miners, our only protection against them is the initial price of issuance for a new ASIC at the moment. But we have something fairly unique from Dash, which is called Spork. Sporks are like network keys for turning on and off different types of features. We've got a Spork linked to our proof of work. It has been tested on the test net, and we can very quickly deploy it in a hard fork. It is a network hard fork, but we can deploy it within a couple of weeks if we have to. It will change the memory parameters on certain parts of the algorithm at random, which means the CPU will keep right on mining with more or less the same efficiency, but FPGAs will need to be reprogrammed for each cycle, and it will brick any ASICs on the system. We've done this because we want to maintain decentralization as fully as possible. The only problem that really is with it is we're very attractive for someone like Monero Ocean to come on and mine. I don't know if you're familiar with what they are.
I've done with Monero, but as far as Monero Ocean, I'm not that familiar.
Okay, they are a mining pool that basically leech liquidity from other projects.
Oh, okay. All right.
What they do is they've got this kind of proxy with the hardware you're running. It will always pick the most profitable to the Monero price. You'll be mining that. They will dump whatever the mining output is, and they will pay you in Monero. Our community responded rather badly to that by putting up a similar pool. So we've got a pool called Raptoreum now, where you can mine any number of other coins, but they will get dumped and converted into RTM.
Okay.
Which is working out to be, frankly, quite profitable.
Nice. Like that, yeah.
Because they're not taking a fat cut and underpaying their miners like Monero Ocean and some of the other switching pools are.
Good to know, yeah.
And that's not a baseless allegation. I have data that can back that up, which clearly demonstrates that basically the other auto switching pools are stealing or not disclosing their fees fully. You can look at it in whatever way you want. But yeah.
Awesome. All right.
We've got one of the most active communities around in crypto. There's always something going on. The community are building. We've got people who've done custom pool implementations in Rust from the ground up.
Oh, wow, nice.
That's not a small thing.
Yeah.
And the same pool who've done that, also working on Stratum V2. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. At the end of 2010, a man in the Czech Republic came up with an idea that would allow you to combine the mining power of a lot of CPUs in a single location. That was Slush and Slush Pool. I think you must have heard that name.
Yeah, Slush, yeah, sure, yes.
Yeah.
Slush
Pool released what was essentially the Stratum protocol, and the Stratum protocol has remained more or less unchanged since then. However, the Stratum V2 protocol is a much more miner-centric approach to pooled mining, instead of where the pool is in control of the entire process, the miners now have more to say. And it leads to much higher efficiency, much smoother mining experience. Yeah. And it's a pretty big deal because we're going to be some of the first to implement it outside Bitcoin. I'm not aware of anybody else outside Bitcoin pools that have it implemented and working.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not that knowledgeable about it. I'm quite curious to know about it.
It is pretty esoteric, but it's high-level nerd cool, if you can put it like that.
Yeah, that's fair,
yeah.
Anything
else you would like to know about the project?
Actually, we are just about over an hour. Well, I'll tell you what, let's try to have maybe sometime later, just a specific episode all about Raptor. Yeah. But this one for sure, hey, look, I really enjoyed this conversation. Definitely, I'm quite fascinated with your history and some of the things you worked with. So that's pretty cool. They definitely got a lot of value out of it.
I also like to say a few controversial things.
Not bad. We need things to spice things up.
Yeah.
I think the way I see it is it helps expand the space and challenge some sort of narratives too.
Yeah, but
even also in Monero too, we have to challenge some narratives as well. So that's part of
Monero would really be better off starting over because the project lost so much credibility in the way the launch was handled, the hidden miners, it could go on and on about that. And it all goes back to basically pre-Monero coins and squabbling between those coins.
Oh, with, was it Bytecoin and Digibyte? I forgot.
No, before that even.
Even way before that, with the Kryptonite?
No, it goes back to Tenebrix versus Fairbrix. Some of the first CPU coins to come out after it became, I can't remember who it was, that if Litecoin was the first script coin.
Yeah.
Back then, script coins were CPU mining only. And that didn't last very long, though. What was it they were called? Cobley from LTC. Bitcoin Express, a couple of other people, they were rather quick to get out a GPU miner for script.
Interesting. Yeah. No, this is history. This part of history I'm not aware of, but I definitely would love to dive in deep and learn more.
It goes all the way back.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
It's the same kind of criticism as a lot of people level against Pirate Chain. They get very butthurt that miner issuance was mainly in the first year, like 90% of the supply was mined in the first year or something like that, or 80% or whatever it was for Pirate.
Yeah.
In some ways, you can just say that it's be in there, be early, support privacy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're looking at sustainable growth, having this period of issuance stretched out somewhat longer is much better from a sustainable growth perspective. And it doesn't centralize the bags on the network as badly.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't have anything against Monero as a protocol. It's nice. It's just that some of the early history was really messed up.
No, fair enough. I'm sure I know that. I mean, I haven't gone in deep in those conversations with some of the people, but I am definitely aware, I would say, but not to the level that you have. I mean, that
different hearing about it and being around for it.
Sure. Agreed. Yeah.
I mined Bytecoin and I made money mining Bytecoin, even though it turned out to be a ripoff.
Gotcha, yeah.
And that was all right to me for quite some time, but yeah.
Oh, man, I'm sure there's so much to unravel. So, David, let's...
But anyway, thank you for your time, and thanks for having me on.
No, glad we got to connect at the pursuit of privacy. Definitely want to thank Mr. Quibbs and Tagus if he's watching. So definitely have been a supporter of privacy and just trying to community.
They're a good little community there. Yeah, pursuit of privacy, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, but before we go, how can people connect with you and learn more about Raptoreum?
Our website, which is under overhaul right now, tpstorium.com. It has invites to our different communities on there. We are most active on Discord.
All right, okay.
We've got, what have we got now? About 20,000 active members on the Discord.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
We are not a small community. So, and there are Telegram channels as well for those who are more concerned about privacy. A lot of local language Telegram channels for Chinese, Bahasa, German, Italian, Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Definitely, I'll leave the description below as well as the links so people can learn more about Raptoreum. And definitely, I learned some. But I would definitely love to have another episode just about Raptoreum because I'd love to have a more focused conversation on blockchain as a service. I think this is a conversation I think is really important to help the regular Joes and Janes, how they can use Raptoreum as a blockchain service.
But not just, I mean, for RTM, it's in order to market a new product, you've got to find the lowest common denominator where everybody can meet. It doesn't sound very nice. Lowest common denominator is usually something you're using in a bad way. But here, if you can find the lowest possible level of common ground and then build from there, what you're building is not going to fall over because of this and that. It's just going to slowly stack up.
Yeah, sure, awesome. Yeah,
very happy to, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome. Anyways, folks, we gotta go. David gotta go. He got big things to do, so definitely we're gonna have him join us again for some interesting insights. Definitely, I love the history and the passion and a lot of interesting details. A lot of people tend to miss out, so definitely would love to have him again. Anyways, we gotta go. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.